All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Special DN Daily Dose. I'm here with Sean, and today we're going to be talking about the DOGE hearing.
Yep.
Oh, hold on.
We're nearing $37 trillion in national debt. What does that mean? That means that each and every U.S. taxpayer owes over $323,000. Okay, what does that mean? That means when the EPIC, which is the Economic Policy Innovation Center, says we have 18 trillion left. That's it, 18 trillion left to take out, and we're spending $2 trillion in debt every year. Folks, we're at the precipice of a debt, we're like a debt cycle. We are literally at a point in which the dollar will be worth nothing. What does that mean? And we know Social Security goes bankrupt in 8 years, right? Medicare goes bankrupt in 10 years. And then 15 years from now, the dollar is completely devalued and worth nothing. So what does that mean? That means your pension, the money in your bank, your savings is nothing. It's worthless. So what are we doing? We're trying to save this country. We're trying to save your pensions. We're trying to save your bank accounts. We're trying to save this country for the next generation. And
I think that really sums it up, man. We have so much debt in this country. It is insane. And it's gotten, I know for I'm sure for the younger generation, but even for my generation, it was like, these are just numbers at this point that we're being fed, right? We're trillions of dollars in debt. We have no money for this, no money for that. But yet, and here's the problem, we see all this money going to other countries. We see all these programs that we hear about by people like Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, telling us about the wasteful spending the government has been doing with our tax dollars, and it's infuriating.
And they've also found $4.6 trillion that they don't know where it was going.
Trillions and trillions of dollars.
Trillions of dollars, yeah.
And not to get into the tinfoil hat stuff, but the Pentagon has consistently failed multi-trillion dollar audits. I mean,
failed 8 audits.
8, yeah. 8, dude. 8 friggin' audits is like one. Failing one audit as a federal agency, in my opinion, should be grounds for complete removal of anyone and everyone that was connected to the failed audit. Like, if you couldn't provide accurate numbers, you're gone.
Yep.
It's one thing in private business. And private business obviously doesn't put up with that crap. But it's one thing in private business, but in the governmental arena, these are taxpayer dollars we're talking about.
Yeah.
This is not just company assets that gets dissolved and people are, whatever. This is the fate of our country, like he's talking about. And it's wild. But here we go. Okay, we're going to get into this hearing. If you guys want to find this video, it's from Forbes. It's Watch Live. Marjorie Taylor Greene leads first congressional DOGE hearing. So she's the chair?
She is. And I was impressed. She was very professional during this hearing.
Really? Okay. Now, for those of you familiar with the infamous MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been an outspoken individual in Congress since she got elected. And that's part of the reason that she was elected. Her particular area, right? Her district.
In Georgia.
Wanted her. They elected her overwhelmingly.
Yeah.
And so she represents what they want.
Even with all the bad press.
Even the bad press, she still got reelected.
Pretty handily. I want to say she got 75%.
It was huge. It was massive.
But so Democrats during this hearing, you'll see do a couple digs at her, and I was expecting her to go off or say something back, but she didn't. She was very professional during this hearing.
Wow. Okay. Because we've all seen those sound bites, man, of MTG just going at it. But good for her. Good for her. Okay. So Sean was kind enough to put together this series of timestamps in this video. I will tell you that I've seen some clips from this, and it is concerning, the sheer volume of stuff that we're talking about here. But let's get started. Our first clip is 8:26 to 12:48. And this is
Marjorie
Taylor Greene.
Made after me,
Starting
so
off,
for the
I think,
purpose
right?
of making an opening.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Yep.
Again, 8:26 to 12:48. There we go. All right.
Statement. Good morning. Today, we begin the first hearing on the Oversight Subcommittee on DOGE. This committee will be laser focused on bringing full transparency to waste, fraud, and abuse within the federal government and presenting the plans to fix the tremendous problems we expose. We as a country are $36 trillion in debt.
Dude.
That is such a stunning amount of money. It's absolutely staggering to even comprehend how we as a people, we as a country found ourselves here.
Yeah.
This is not a Democrat problem. This is not a Republican problem.
I agree with that.
This is an American problem. To make it clear for everyone, not only are we $36 trillion in debt, but the compounding interest on our debt is also growing out of control.
Yeah.
Even if we decided to defund the entire federal government, we cannot escape our debt and the compounding interest owed on our debt, which grows bigger and bigger every year. In 2025, interest payments are projected to be $952 billion, which is more than our entire military budget. In 2026, it will be $1 trillion. And by 2035, $1.8 trillion. Over the next decade, total interest payments are projected to be $13.8 trillion. These interest payments don't serve a single American. They don't build a bridge, a road, provide disaster relief, or fund a single part of the behemoth that is the federal government.
Yep.
These interest payments pay our masters who own our debt. And the American people are in debt slavery to everyone who owns our debt. Our crippling national debt and massively growing interest on our debt will destroy us. Not destroy one political party or the other, it will destroy all of us together. It drives inflation, making life unaffordable for Americans struggling to financially survive. It is crippling small businesses struggling to be successful. Our massively growing debt and interest are the chains and shackles harnessed to every American and their children and every generation to come. But first, let us be brutally honest about how this massive debt came to be in the first place. It came from Congress and from elected presidential administrations. And I believe enslaving our nation in debt is one of the biggest betrayals against the American people by its own elected government. The American people's anger over this betrayal is what gave birth to the concept of DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. In fact, DOGE became a major part of President Trump's campaign and led to his overwhelming victory in November. Every day, Americans go to work. They run businesses. They have to earn their paycheck. No one guarantees it. And if they don't do a good job, they get fired. They also have to pay their bills, credit card debts, balance their checkbooks, and scrap and save every penny they can in order to plan for that rainy day and hopefully retirement one day. Private businesses only survive on hard-earned income by serving their customers so well that their customers pay them for the services and products they consume. If that business fails, its employees lose their jobs and paychecks, and the owners lose their business, and everything they risked along with it. Many go bankrupt in this process and lose everything. No one bails them out. They only survive by excellent customer service and smart financial management. This is the real world that most Americans live, work, and survive in every day. This is the pursuit of happiness, and this is how you pursue the American dream.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like you said, man, she's so far very professional. It was a good opening statement. I agree with that. All right. So our next clip, we're going to jump to 1630 to 2043. This is Representative Stansberry.
I never heard of her before this.
Okay. Let's see.
She's from New Mexico.
From New Mexico. Okay. Is she just speaking, or is she a minority chair or something?
She is the ranking member.
Ranking member. That's it. That's what it was. Okay. So the other side of the aisle, basically, right? Okay. From New Mexico, you said?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see here. 1630. We got to start just
operates in a more efficient manner. And in fact,
here we go.
All of us here on the Democratic side are ready to roll up our sleeves and to get to work.
Right.
And just last week, I had the opportunity to sit down with the chairwoman and to discuss these very issues and opportunities to work across the aisle. And like the chairwoman who shared some of her background with me, I grew up in a working family. I grew up working for small mom and pop family businesses and understand the necessity of balancing the books, making sure we can deliver, and fiscal responsibility. And that's why today's hearing is focused on making sure that the federal government is doing what it's supposed to and digging into the more than $236 billion in improper payments that we see going out the door every single year. And we need to get to the bottom of that. And we need to make sure that
I think it's way more than that.
It probably is.
I believe way more. I'm not sure what this figure comes from. And I didn't mean to stop it in the middle, but like she quotes this figure, I have no idea what she's talking. Is she talking about just Medicare impropriety?
True.
It could be. Yeah, very vague statement. I don't know what number she's talking about or where it came from, but we'll continue.
we're putting into place rigorous oversight and controls to prevent fraud and abuse, and of course, to go after bad actors. And that is why myself and the oversight ranking member Connolly and other Democratic members of the committee sent a set of bipartisan ideas that we'd like to work on together that would root out waste, fraud, and abuse and modernize and streamline how our agencies deliver vital programs for the American people. These are programs that are important for our seniors and our families and healthcare and the education system. And we need bipartisan solutions to get across the finish line. And we've been trying over the last several years to get these ideas out of this committee, but unfortunately, the committee's priorities have been elsewhere under the current majority. So I hope.
Didn't they just have a majority in Congress not that long ago? The Democrats?
No, it's been a while. It's not last time, it was 2 times ago.
Okay. So like 4 years ago, they had a majority.
4 years ago.
Okay.
We can fix that this Congress. But we can't just sit here today and pretend like everything is normal and that this is just another hearing on government efficiency.
Okay.
I mean, all you have to do is look across this room and see that it is not a normal hearing. Because while we're sitting here, Donald Trump and Elon Musk are recklessly and illegally dismantling the federal government, shuttering federal agencies, firing federal workers, withholding funds vital to the safety and well-being of our communities, and hacking our sensitive data systems. In fact, while we were here discussing government waste on the House floor yesterday, Elon Musk was standing behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office with the president, and the administration was making emergency court appeals to try to unlock his team's access to the Treasury payment system, which they claim they are using to study improper payments, which is the topic of this hearing. But here's the thing. The Treasury payment system, which includes Social Security information and bank accounts for millions of Americans and data that's critical to national security and the operation of the U.S. government, and payments that go out the door annually equal to almost a fifth of the U.S. economy, is not where the payment decisions are made, because that happens inside the agencies that are currently being dismantled.
I'm going to pause here real quick because there's a lot to digest here. Okay. No one okay, this is so much. Let's start with, while we sit here, Donald Trump and Elon Musk are illegally dismantling the federal. First of all, there's nothing illegal about anything DOGE is doing.
No,
It's absolutely above board. And this was celebrated when Clinton announced the intentions of creating the digital service. That's what DOGE was.
and Elon Musk has no power.
Right.
That's the thing that drives me crazy is he has no power. He's just basically advising and telling Trump what is out there.
Exactly. All of this, like USAID falls under the State Department. He can advise whatever, but Elon Musk can't fire anyone. And it's funny because she's going nuts about these critical programs that are necessary, right, for the survival of stuff. And talking about that's not where these decisions are made. No, it's not where the decisions to spend the money are made. And I agree with her on that. But how are you supposed to see where the money goes if you don't examine the system that sends out payments?
Yeah. How are you supposed to know?
Right. Imagine just for a moment. I'm not saying that that's what's going on, but imagine just for a moment if there was some sort of virus or other thing attached to the federal payment system that siphoned out a couple of pennies every time a payment went out. How would you know if that existed unless you examine the system? How do you know where these billions and billions of dollars are going unless you examine where the payments are going? And they are freaking out because they know their money-making scams are being exposed. Look at the $2 billion that went to Stacey Abrams' organization.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I did.
The organization / business she's connected to, because she's tweeted out about them. She's listed with them, etc. Is it her company?
Don't know.
Don't know. Don't care. She's connected to it. We all know that. All right. Back to the insanity.
And the people who actually investigate waste, fraud, and abuse at these agencies are the inspector generals, who Donald Trump fired his first week in office
because they're not doing their damn job.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
You need to start all over with that.
All of this should have been discovered by the inspector generals. All of this waste, fraud, and abuse, or whatever it is that DOGE is reporting. We covered the website last night. Go check it out. All of this should have been caught. But it wasn't. Why? Because these inspector generals are literally doing nothing. I would argue they're doing the opposite. They're covering it up.
Midnight massacre.
Probably some of them.
So we have to ask ourselves, what is really going on here? Why did Republicans block Elon Musk from appearing before this very committee last week? Why is the administration so eager to allow Elon Musk and his hackers to have access to proprietary and private information in the Treasury payment systems?
Elon Musk and his hackers. What? This is not war games, lady. What the hell?
Why are our colleagues across the aisle shielding them as they are clearly breaking the law? And why is the vice president trying to rewrite the U.S. Constitution by tweet and undermine the judiciary? So obviously, we're in the Oversight Committee and we have a lot of questions, and so do the American people. Especially while our colleagues across the aisle are trying to scoop up the savings from the dismantling of these agencies to pay for the largest permanent tax break in American history.
Yeah. Okay. So what's interesting, right? First of all, the sheer vitriol there. We all know Democrats hate Trump. It's no secret, right? Anything Trump does is bad. If Trump says, you need more oxygen, there will be tons of articles that come out in the New York Times, Politico, etc., that talk about how oxygen is bad. We've seen it. We know it. We know the playbook. However, to claim that looking for fraud, waste, and abuse is illegal and unconstitutional is a laughingstock. It is. And you absolutely lose any credibility when you start with that. All right. Oh my goodness. Okay. So here, in my opinion, is where the real fun starts. We get the witnesses.
Yep.
Okay. The intro and swearing in is coming up at 26:34, and that's where we're going to jump to 26:34. Now, I just want to take a look at this here. Okay. So here is our, here are our witnesses. Okay. And one of the interesting things about this is that, well, let's just let this happen, because I think it's going to unfold on its own. All right, so 26:34, and we're going to 28:32. So we got a couple of minutes, guys. Here we go.
Welcome today's expert panel of witnesses who each bring unique experience and expertise that will be valuable to today's discussion. I'd first like to welcome Mr. Haywood Talcove, the Chief Executive Officer for Government at LexisNexis Risk Solutions, Inc. His commitment to customers' needs allows LexisNexis to develop market-leading solutions that have enabled customers to stop fraud, waste, and abuse. Next, we have Mr. Stuart Whitson, the Senior Director of Federal Affairs at the Foundation of Government Accountability. Stuart was previously a special agent in the FBI, a U.S. Army veteran, and now spends his time at FGA advocating to improve welfare, the workforce, and other policy.
Okay.
Next, we have Ms. Dawn Royal, a certified welfare fraud investigator in the state of Wyoming and director for the United Council of Welfare Fraud. She advocates for investigating and preventing fraud of government benefits and has done so over the past 16 years.
What's up?
You don't have the video up there.
Oh, thanks, Sean. Yeah. Okay. Let's try this again. All right. Yeah. We're just standing here watching. You guys may not have heard anything at all. So I'm going to back it up. Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. It's okay to go, hey, stop.
Okay.
sorry about that, guys. Yeah. All right. So let's try this again. 26:34, 35-ish. Here we go. All right. It's good because it'll give an opportunity again, because I wanted to hear the first witness again, who he is.
A panel of witnesses who each bring unique experience and expertise that will be valuable to today's discussion. I'd first like to welcome Mr. Haywood Talcove, the Chief Executive Officer for Government at LexisNexis Risk Solutions, Inc. His commitment to customers' needs allows LexisNexis to develop market-leading solutions.
Okay, I'll pause it. So Mr. Talcove is over here on the left, it looks like, and he's the CEO of LexisNexis or whatever, or of Government Affairs or something. Anyway, Ms. Royal, Mr. Whitson, and Mr. Hetler Gaudet. Okay. All right.
Who is blind?
Yeah. Who, by the way, is blind. And let's just get this out of the way, because I'm not tiptoeing around this, guys. The guy's blind, right? Blind people are perfectly capable of doing anything other people can do, except maybe driving. I'm not sure. I don't know how safe that would be, but otherwise, like, I had a blind friend when I was younger. He was kind of cool, but anyway, let's just get this out of the way, because what does this guy do? Do you remember what he is?
If I remember right, isn't he a lobbyist?
I'm not sure. We'll get to it in just a second, but I want to make sure this is not the guy that's supposed to find fraud, is it?
I think it might be.
Because if you got a guy who's blind looking for fraud, I mean, like I said, let's just get this out of the way. Let's get the uncomfortable jokes done, because we're going to have to move forward. And when I mean, see no evil, dude. Like, is that the intention here?
I don't know.
Like, I got questions. I have a lot of questions. That said, I don't know if you guys know how the blind people use
Braille?
Well, yeah, there's Braille. I've seen them read books, but how do they use computers and stuff?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Are they trapped in the dark ages with print media being necessary so they can use? I'm sure there's other things out there. Do you guys know how do blind people, do they use? They can't. I'd imagine they certainly can't use touch screen phones.
That's a good question.
Yeah. let's find out I know this is going kind of off the rails, but like I was genuinely wondering, how do those who cannot see, how do they use modern technology like smartphones, computers, things like that?
It says, yes, blind people can use computers with the help of assistive technology.
Assistive technology. That could be any number of things, but it might be like, go ahead.
These technologies include screen readers, braille displays, and magnifying tools.
Okay.
So I guess,
I mean, you know what? Screen reader, I could see that. It reads the screen off to you. Yeah. And then like you got a braille keyboard or something. Yeah, fair enough. I could see that. As the husband of a wife who works with people who are disabled, I don't care if the dude's blind. I don't care if he doesn't have any arms or legs, but I mean, it's not exactly a good look when you have this guy as the face of fraud detection. I'm just saying it's not a good look. Maybe people should have thought of that. Moving on. Now that that's out of the way.
That have enabled customers to stop fraud, waste, and abuse. Next, we have Mr. Stuart Whitson, the Senior Director of Federal Affairs at the Foundation of Government Accountability. Stuart was previously a special agent in the FBI, a U.S. Army veteran, and now spends his time at FGA advocating to improve welfare, the workforce, and other policy.
Okay, so I mean, I gotta give it to Mr. Whitson. Like she said, a former FBI agent. Okay, that could go either way, but he is a veteran, so I'm very interested to hear what he has to say, especially to go from that and the FBI to advocating for more social benefits is an interesting career trajectory.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to hear what he has to say.
Next, we have Miss Dawn Royal, a certified welfare fraud investigator in the state of Wyoming and director for the United Council of Welfare Fraud. She advocates for investigating and preventing fraud of government benefits and has done so over the past 16 years. Finally, we have Mr. Dylan Hetler-Goddett, the Director of Government Affairs at the Project on Government Oversight. Dylan.
Okay, like I said, we got to get this out of the way because he is the Director of Oversight. Come on, man. Like, this is writing itself at this point. If I was look, if I didn't want to make my wife angry, I could make all kinds of jokes at this point.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Dude, and you know what? This is an easy lob ball to those that like to make fun of the disabled. Here you go. Come on, man. It's not a good look.
No,
it's not. It's not a good look. And I'm sure the guy's good at his, well, I'm not sure of anything anymore with our government, but I'm sure he's in that position for a reason. I'm just saying maybe he shouldn't be the poster child for oversight.
Leads advocacy efforts and policy reforms to a wide range of good governance. I thank each of our witnesses for being here today, and I look forward to your testimony. Pursuant to Committee Rule 9G, the witnesses will please stand and raise their right hand. Do you...
Just out of curiosity. So we always have them stand and raise their right hand, right? What if you're left-handed? Does that matter?
That's a good point.
That's like the swearing in, not necessarily the swearing in of for an elected office. But when they go to put their hand on the Bible or whatever they choose, does it matter which hand they use? Does it have to be the right hand? What if they're left-handed? Does it change anything? I don't think it does either, but it's interesting. And why did they choose the right hand versus the left hand?
Probably because more people are right-handed.
That's what I'm thinking. It's more
common to be right.
Solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Let the record show that the witnesses answered in the affirmative. Thank you. You may take a seat. We appreciate.
Okay. The next little clip, we're going to go right into it, and it is Haywood Talcove. That's the CEO guy, right? from, I don't know, that place.
Appreciate you being here today and look forward to your testimony. Let me remind the witnesses that we have read your written statement and it will appear in full in the hearing record. Please limit your oral statement to 5 minutes. As a reminder, please press the button on the microphone in front of you so that it is on and the members can hear you. When you begin to speak, the light in front of you will turn green. After 4 minutes, the light will turn yellow. When the red light comes on, your 5 minutes have expired, and we would ask that you please wrap up. I now recognize Mr. Talcove for his opening statement.
He would.
Chairwoman Green, Ranking Member Stansberry, and distinguished members of the committee. For over a decade, a silent war has been waged against American taxpayers, not with bombs or guns, but with data and technology. Outdated government systems permit criminals to access unlimited sums of money. During the pandemic, they stole $1 trillion. 70% of those dollars went overseas.
70%.
Wow.
Yeah.
They stole $1 trillion from us, man, and 70% to other countries somewhere. That's crazy.
Shockingly, it's just not criminals exploiting the system. It's the flawed system itself acting as the accomplice. If left unchecked, the U.S. government will continue to lead the world in funding cyber criminals. This is a data and technology problem, and it demands a data-driven response. Criminal syndicates have turned benefit programs into their personal ATM machines, exploiting those in need who wait months for benefits that may never come. These ruthless crooks use our money to fund child trafficking, disperse drugs in our communities, and terrorism. For years, criminal networks have stolen personal information from the public and private sector. They exploit real identities to manipulate antiquated government systems, siphoning off billions in taxpayers' hard-earned money. We continue to pay benefits to deceased and incarcerated individuals, direct money to bad actors flagged on the do not pay list, and overlook duplicate Social Security numbers by not following best practices. During the pandemic, a simple cross-check of PPP loan recipients against IRS records would have exposed massive fraud and prevented payments to transnational criminals who sold their quote-unquote sauce on the dark web. To stop this, we must reclaim control of our systems, not just from the criminal syndicates, but the flawed systems enabling them. Smarter technology, data, and identity verification are not optional. They are necessities to protect taxpayers and ensure aid reaches those who truly need it.
And he's absolutely right. Our systems are so, guys, have you ever been, like, when's the last time you went to a government office? I had to go to the BMV not that long ago in order to renew my plates, right? I had to take a vehicle off my bike and make sure that my plates were renewed. And their systems are way outdated. That's just the BMV. Anytime you deal with a government agency, you know, like they got old ass computers in there, like old stuff. Sometimes you'll go to a place and they might have a couple of new, bigger monitors, but the systems themselves, you see, they take ages. Everything they do is slow. That's throughout our federal government.
And that's easy to hack.
And it's super easy to hack. Exactly. We've got to improve our infrastructure. The next clip we're going to go to is 3429, and this is Dawn Royal. I think this is the welfare fraud investigator lady. Let's see what she has to say. 3429. All right.
Mr. Talcove. I now recognize Ms. Royal for her opening statement.
We're going to 3609. A couple minutes.
Good morning, Chairwoman Green, Ranking Member Stansberry, and committee members. My name is Dawn Royal. I'm a certified welfare fraud investigator, 2-term past president, and a current director of the United Council on Welfare Fraud. The United Council on Welfare Fraud is a national professional organization dedicated to protecting the integrity in our nation's public assistance programs. We are the only national organization singularly focused on the detection, prevention, and prosecution of welfare fraud. For too long, agency bureaucrats have pitted citizens' access to welfare programs against the integrity of those programs. Access versus integrity should never be an either-or dichotomy. We can all agree that access to public assistance is crucial. America's citizens should not be hungry or deprived of medical care because of their inability to pay. However, making sure vulnerable citizens have access to these welfare programs should not mean that we simply turn a blind eye to integrity. We do not pursue the prevention, detection, and prosecution of if we do not pursue the prevention, detection, and prosecution of fraud, taxpayers become the victims as the welfare programs become slush funds for anyone wanting to supplement their income with SNAP benefits, absolve themselves from the financial responsibility of medical bills, and using Medicaid to further taxpayer exploitation by taking advantage of cash assistance, energy assistance, childcare, and other social welfare programs.
And she makes a really good point. Access versus security or whatever she said something else. The big reason why we don't just hand out welfare to anyone who asks for it is a verification process. We want to make sure that you actually need it. Why? Because of this, because of fraud, because there are unscrupulous people out there who will collect checks from the government when they don't need them. And I am all for helping those who need it. I've talked about this before. I was on public assistance when I was young. My mom was on food stamps when I was a kid. It helps. It's there. And for God's sake, if we're sending billions and billions and billions of dollars overseas, the last thing I'm going to complain about is helping people here at home.
Yeah. They should come first.
Exactly. Our citizens should come first. So
not Ukraine.
Not Ukraine. That's exactly right. Yeah. So our next clip is 4014. This is Stuart Wilson. 40.
And this is a long one, if I remember right.
Okay. We're going 4014 to 4515. 4014 to 4515. Here's full 5 minutes because it's interesting. Here we go.
Chairwoman Green, Ranking Member Stansbury, members of the subcommittee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. On the campaign trail, President Trump promised to take on the bloated bureaucracy in D.C., rebuild trust in the DOJ and the FBI, crack down on waste, fraud, and abuse, and restore common sense. And on day one, he started delivering on those promises with a wave of executive orders and the official launch of DOGE, which he, of course, tasked Elon Musk to lead. Already, DOGE efforts have brought to the public's attention countless examples of wasteful spending, including $59 million paid to luxury hotels in New York to house illegal immigrants, $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. The list goes on. But rather than applauding the work of DOGE, the left has launched a coordinated campaign to try to demonize Mr. Musk with the hope of shifting focus away from the disastrous waste, fraud, and abuse that occurred on Biden's watch. But guess what? It's not working. Because no matter what political party people hail from, the vast majority of Americans agree that $10 million worth of food funneled to Al-Qaeda was probably not the best use of taxpayer money.
Correct.
But there's another source, a key source of wasteful spending that DOGE and the subcommittee should set their sights on next, and that's Medicaid waste and fraud. While initially meant as a program for the truly needy, Medicaid exploded into a massive welfare program for millions of able-bodied adults lured into the trap of government dependency. And as Medicaid has grown, so too has mismanagement. Today, more than $1 in $5 spent on Medicaid is improper. In Medicaid alone, fraud and mismanagement is on track to cost U.S. taxpayers, get this, more than $1 trillion over the next 10 years.
Dude.
When it comes to the problem of improper payments, the Medicaid program is the biggest culprit, encompassing nearly 1/3 of all federal improper payments. And more than 80% of Medicaid improper payments are due to one thing, eligibility errors. If Congress wants to help President Trump address wasteful spending, then targeting eligibility errors in Medicaid should be one of your top priorities. Bottom line, to address this challenge, Congress can take 3 decisive actions. So first, Congress can strengthen the Medicaid program through legislative action. That would include repealing Biden's disastrous Medicaid streamlining rule, which ties the hands of states trying to remove ineligible enrollees. You can and should do this through reconciliation, and it will produce $164 billion in savings if you do. You can also strengthen verification requirements to ensure only eligible individuals receive benefits and ensure a nationwide NAC is implemented without delay. Second thing Congress can do is help President Trump's DOGE effort by ensuring that entrenched partisan bureaucrats don't stand in the way of reform.
Agreed.
So Musk and his DOGE team have already found hundreds of billions of dollars funneled into wasteful, fraudulent, and flat out insane projects. But they've only scratched the surface. If this much fraud has been exposed in just a few weeks, imagine what else is buried under layers of red tape and government excuses. But guess what? All of these insane projects have one thing in common. They were all approved and funded by unelected bureaucrats.
Yep.
And these and other entrenched bureaucrats are already pledging to fight against President Trump's efforts to improve government accountability and efficiency. Personnel is policy. And without competent staff to faithfully execute the president's agenda, the DOGE project will fail. And this is where Congress can help. Congress can support the president in carrying out his DOGE effort by making all executive branch employees at will, codifying the president's authority to fire unproductive or insubordinate agency employees as needed. At the same time, Congress can grant the president authority to permanently eliminate vacant positions and consolidate non-essential positions across agencies and departments to help promote efficiency and put the right people in the right seat. The third thing, Congress can make President Trump's DOGE cost-cutting and deregulatory reforms permanent by passing the REINS Act. And so there's only one big problem with the DOGE effort. Most of its work can be undone by a future president with the stroke of a pen. To make President Trump's DOGE reforms permanent, Congress must act. And the best way to do this is to pass the REINS Act. This would return Article 1 budgetary power of the purse to Congress while promoting deregulation. It would also help lock in the DOGE reforms and cement President Trump's legacy as the most consequential deregulatory and cost-cutting president in U.S. history. The American people are watching. It's time for Congress to act. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
I was distracted because you guys probably can't see this. You can barely see his mouth, but the guy to the right, were you seeing his face? His eye was kept twitch. It was weird. The inflections, on this guy, his facial expression seemed to shift based on what he was hearing, which is completely natural. But I find it interesting at where some of the reactions came. It was interesting. Anyway, I agree with what Mr. Whitson said. Unless we have the proper people in place to implement these policies, bureaucrats are going to stop all of this. I agree that everybody in the executive branch should be at will and should be able to be eliminated immediately by a president. President's supposed to lead the executive branch. Why the hell are so many these people protected?
Yeah, agreed.
With our local governments, anybody who reports to the mayor serves at the pleasure of the mayor. As an example, the commissioners, those who have direct employees, they can fire them at will. The executive branch of the commissioners, as long as all three commissioners agree, or a 2 out of 3, I should say, majority, they can fire any of these people, department heads, etc. But to have a president that doesn't have the power to fire someone in their branch of government is insane.
But he could fire secretaries, which is crazy because they worked at the pleasure of the president.
Exactly. Yeah. How can
the staff or other workers?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Shouldn't he be able to clean house in a new administration? Because look, the entire purpose of the executive administration is to enact the will of the president, who was elected by America. He's the only elected official elected by the entire country. Seems simple, but okay. We're going to go right in to who I was just talking about. The eyebrow. That's what I was thinking. The eyebrow twitches and half smirks this guy was given. I'm interested to see what he has to say. So it's a short clip, about 45 seconds, 45:16, to 4702. Let's hear what Mr. Gaudette has to say.
Thank you, Mr. Whitson. I now recognize Mr. Hetler Goddett for his opening statement.
Thank you, Chairwoman Green, Ranking Member Stansberry, and members of the subcommittee. My name is Dylan Hetler Gaudette, and I am the Director of Government Affairs at the Project on Government Oversight, or POGO. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you here today to talk about the critical issue of bringing more accountability and transparency to federal spending, including rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse. Since our founding in 1981, POGO has been focused on promoting more accountability and rooting out wasteful spending and promoting efficiency, especially at the Department of Defense. We have a long and well-established track record on these issues, and we take a back when it comes to promoting a better and more effective government, which necessarily includes.
That was a guy, for those of you maybe couldn't see, or the guy behind him thought his microphone was off, got up, turned it off, and then sat back down after or turned it back on and sat back down after he realized. That's what that little cutout was. Somebody behind him wanted to be helpful.
A federal government that is a good and responsible steward of taxpayer dollars. Let's take a moment to pause here to talk a little bit about terms that we're going to hear a lot today and the difference between them. Waste is.
And I miscalculated. It's 1:45, not just 45 seconds. We're going to 47:02.
Different from fraud. Fraud is different from abuse. Difference
Let's hear that
between
again.
them. A little bit about terms that we're going to hear a lot today and the difference between them. Waste is different from fraud. Fraud is different from abuse, and abuse is different from both.
Okay. No. When we're talking literal definitions, that's correct. That is correct. Fraud is different than waste because waste is accidental, fraud's intentional.
Okay.
And abuse is just these bureaucrats who aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. Where I would argue it doesn't matter. Either way, A, the money's being spent on stuff we don't want it spent on, and B, we the people have never agreed for this ridiculous stuff. Like, it's either way, the money's wasted, whether it's stolen, whether it's given away. Like, yeah, you can argue definitions, but the end result is we're still mad.
When we talk about improper payments, they are a subset of those other three categories. But that doesn't tell us the whole picture either. Sometimes improper payments are a function of bad record keeping. Sometimes they are a function of outdated information technology systems. Sometimes they come about through human error, and sometimes they come about through negligence. There are a variety of reasons why improper payments happen. It just simply is not the case that improper payments are only a function of bad people doing bad things with bad intent.
See, I find that a very interesting. Instead of going, look, we've been working hard, we can't do all of this ourselves, we need more help, or anything like that, what's the immediate jump he's going to? Hey, just because we're wasting your money doesn't mean it was intentional. Just because the money's getting wasted doesn't mean that we're bad people. We still need a job. Dude, you did not do your job. I don't care what your particular abilities or disabilities are. If you're not catching the fraud, waste, abuse, wrong payments, whatever the hell you want to call it, if you're not catching it, why do you have a job?
Good point.
That doesn't mean we shouldn't focus on trying to mitigate improper payments, and that certainly doesn't mean that the American people should not be concerned with how their tax dollars are used.
Well, thanks. We're going to jump ahead here to 5109 to 5605, and this is everyone's favorite Georgian, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's see here.
On DOGE. Americans are shocked to learn that $2.7 trillion of their hard-earned tax dollars have been stolen or wasted in improper payments since 2003. You see, in the private sector, companies can't continue to run if they keep employees that allow waste and abuse with their resources.
Exactly.
But that has continued for decades here in the federal government. Mr. Talcove, do private sector companies have a lower rate of improper payments than the federal government?
Yes, the fraud rate, the that the criminals are taking advantage of in the public sector is around 20%. In the private sector, it's around 3%. And it's
wow. So
That's a problem.
oh my God, dude. 1/5 of everything is fraud. 20% fraud. In the private sector, only 3%.
Because they have to cut it out because they won't survive.
That's it exactly. Because private businesses are motivated to not waste money. These people, these Congress people, these unelected bureaucrats, these people who are in charge of shuffling the money where it goes, there's no incentive for them to do the right thing. They're making tons of money, or at best, they're idiots who didn't catch the fraud. Or I won't even say idiots, ineffectual at catching the fraud, if that's their job, right? At best. At worst, they're traitors to this country. Because, like you said, 70% of it is going overseas. That's aiding and abetting America's enemies, in my opinion. I mean, I'm just saying, certainly not helping us.
Definitely.
It's really because the tools that are used in the private sector aren't used in the public sector.
Right.
Front-end identity verification, self-certification, and then finally making sure that individuals are who they say they are. If we start using these tools, you will see the fraud rate go down dramatically, because for the most part, this fraud isn't taking place by real individuals. It's individuals whose identities have been stolen on the dark web. They use that information pretending to be somebody else. And because of the antiquated systems, processes, and technologies in place in government programs, they're able to steal at scale.
Right. So, Mr. Talcove, we would say that private companies that pretty much have to exist on a 20% profit rate, they're not allowed. They can't continue to be successful if they were to allow their customers' data to be stolen like that and used by criminals. However, the federal government, who can continue printing checks and continue in operation, never fixes its problems because it can't be forced to go out of business. Would you agree with that? Yes or no?
Yes. One of the things I noticed during COVID was the criminals learned that government was the mark because it never runs out of money. And they focus on it at scale. And then the likelihood of getting caught is virtually zero.
Yeah.
I think it's outrageous for Americans to know that their identity can be stolen and then used for child trafficking, drug trafficking, and terrorism, like you stated in your opening statement. Ms. Royal, your testimony states that many programs operate under essentially an honor system in which applicants need not verify their identity, income, residency, or other key eligibility factors. You call this a trust everyone instead of a trust by verify approach. Does this mean the federal government in some states are giving out billions of dollars to individuals without verifying who they are or whether they meet program eligibility requirements?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
That's outrageous. Do states have enough incentive to prevent fraud and to recover improper payments?
No, and in fact, states are hesitant to spend their state dollars to protect federal dollars.
I mean,
would greater investment in program integrity efforts yield a positive return for taxpayers?
Yes, it could easily be self-funding.
Amazing.
I agree with
Mr.
that.
Whitson, your testimony states that both the Biden and Obama administrations issued rules and guidance that made it harder for states to verify eligibility for Medicaid. You say that repealing Biden's Medicaid streamlining rule would save $164 billion over 10 years because the rule restricts eligibility verification that states can perform. Can you explain why this rule is so costly?
Yeah, so the rule does a number of things, but for instance, it prohibits states from verifying eligibility more than once a year. So for non-disabled folks to just go in and look and say, hey, are you still eligible for the program? It says you are forbidden from doing that any more often than once a year. And so obviously people's lives change, and so they may become ineligible, and so it's designed to keep them on the program. Another thing, it prohibits in-person or phone interviews to verify their identity. So people apply for it, and then the person on the other end says, well, I just want to call and make sure this is a real person, not someone in another country or whatever. The rule prohibits that.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to pause here briefly because I get the once a year thing. I'm going to say that, right? Especially for those who are, because we actually just talked about this last night, my wife and I. She, for those of you who aren't familiar, is a Medicaid waiver case manager. What does that mean? That means she helps individuals who have been assigned to Medicaid waiver services, which is helping the severely disabled with everyday tasks, right? She's a liaison between their services and them. There are people who are legitimately very disabled, like very disabled. I'm not going to like put it out there, but they're not getting better, right? But there are also people who, let's call it, barely qualify, right? They are getting services, but their circumstances could change next week. They broke their ankle. They're unable to work. They, hurt their back. They did whatever, and their circumstances could change. I think once a year, that might be a little not often enough to verify whether someone's circumstances have changed. But on the other hand, someone who is severely disabled, these people are not getting better. If you're I'm going to give an example that's not connected to someone. It's just a off the top of my head, making stuff up example. If you are like 13 years old and you're still wearing a diaper and you can't speak and that's severely disabled, they're not going to get better in a year. That's just not going to, they're not going to get better in 5 years. They're not going to get better in 10 years. Maybe they'll get better enough to interact with their parents. Maybe they'll be with the proper therapy and stuff. They could communicate, but they're never going to be good enough to work. No. That's just not going to happen. However, I wanted to give that big old disclaimer because not allowing caseworkers to call and verify that an applicant exists is bullshit.
Isn't that crazy?
What?
Yeah.
That's nuts. How can you say no in-person or phone interview? What does that leave then?
You're just asking for
oh my God, you're begging for it. Like you're opening the doors for it. Like what? I don't know about where this is, but I know in Indiana, when you apply for benefits, they got to see you. You got to go to the office. You can apply online, but they will schedule an interview and you have to show up. If you're unable to go, then they have somebody who can come to you, but they will meet you. At least the last I checked. The rules may have changed. Maybe that's federal laws changed.
I think it's changed under Biden.
I don't know. I know what either. Indiana in the past has been. So maybe I shouldn't speak on that because I don't know current. But if that's true, if that's like every state, that's begging for fraud.
And so there's a number of other provisions. It also
nuts,
opens
man.
a lengthy reconsideration periods. And this is where illegal immigrants are able to obtain the benefits. And so basically it says once you get, these benefits, you can't interfere with it for a 90-day period or longer. And so there's a number of horrible things. But.
So we can't verify if someone is illegal or legal receiving benefits. Just to correct that, yes or no?
You have to wait a state has to wait at least 90 days. And actually what we're seeing is it's led some states to wait as long as 13 years. And so on the
I'm guessing that's California.
Oh my God. To verify whether even someone is legitimately legally entitled to benefits, they have to wait 90 days. Think about that for a minute, dude. 3 months of free, like they apply and they're automatically given benefits. That's why we're wasting all this money on illegals, because they changed it to that.
Or 13 years.
Yeah, or wait 13 years to verify that someone, they shouldn't have gotten benefits for the last 13 years, the thousands and thousands and thousands. I don't know what
state it is, but I'm guessing California.
Right. It's a safe bet to guess California, Illinois, something like that. Chicago specifically. Dude, oh my God. And that's what I mean. Like the guy sitting next to him with the little smirk on his face, right? This is what you should have been catching. That's nuts, man. All right. Wow. We're going to go ahead to 102-17. And this is Cloud, Representative Cloud.
Yep. from Texas.
From Tejas.
Transparency and oversight. Over the last,
And we're gonna go where am I at? To 106.55 to 106
and frustrate our efforts to bring transparency and oversight. Over the last few weeks, the DOGE effort has begun to uncover not only how massive the waste, fraud, and abuse is, but also the extent at which DC politicians and too many obstinate bureaucrats have coordinated to create what is essentially the largest money laundering scheme in history.
Yeah.
And while Americans have been working to make ends meet, they have been using taxpayer dollars to fund unnecessary, egregious, and even evil things here at home and around the world. Thankfully, in DOGE, we have a president bringing the leadership needed and a focused effort, along with the talent, technology, tools, and transparency to this waste, fraud, and abuse. And to those who would stand opposed to this effort, I would just point out, while it's understandable to find waste, fraud, and abuse that has grown and metastasized in this government even over decades, certainly accelerated over the last few years, to continue to protect it is corruption.
Yeah.
I want to thank the chair for beginning this war on waste on this side of Pennsylvania Avenue and bringing together this committee. This effort is so important as we work to relieve the Americans, people of this burden of waste, fraud, and abuse. Mr. Talco, you mentioned in your written statement and talked about it in your statement at the beginning that this waste, fraud, and abuse is a national security threat. And certainly one of the challenges facing us, it is a national security threat, is our fiscal situation. And so we have got to find ways to find savings to the American people in order to bring confidence to the bond markets, to put our country on a fiscal footing, and to reverse the curse, so to speak, that we are placing on our children and our grandchildren. You mentioned a couple threats, though. You mentioned internal threats. You said that these cases involve government employees, individuals entrusted with administering benefits who, instead of using their positions to approve fraudulent claims, override security controls, or even sell sensitive claimant information for profit. Now, this is not every federal employee for sure, but within the context of people who.
And yeah, let's pause really just briefly, because there seems to be this misconception by the Democrats that Republicans hate every single federal employee and want to get rid of every single federal employee. No, I want people who are actually doing their job to be where they're at or promoted. I want people who aren't doing their job to get rid of them.
And I want them to be efficient too.
Right. That's the key. Efficiency. The federal government absolutely has a job to do and they need to be there. But they've grown so massive, dude. Did you know? Okay, well, I just heard this fact today. There are 1.8 million people incarcerated in the United States. Okay. That's a huge chunk of the population. That's more than any other country on earth, right? There are more people employed by the executive branch of the United States government than that.
Wow.
1.8 million people in prison, 2.25 million people employed by just the executive branch of the U.S. government.
And I bet a lot of the same people are doing the same job.
Redundancy is rife through the federal government. Okay.
Who are trying to give their best effort. We have an internal threat, but you also mentioned transnational fraud rings, terrorist organizations, nation states, North Korea, nuclear weapons programs funded by our tax dollars, China, Nigeria, Iran, Romania, Russia, not our friends necessarily that are being funded by taxpayer dollars. Could you give us some examples of how this is happening?
God, yeah. So when you think about what happened during
Yes.
Wow, that dude.
Yes.
The sheer, oh my God, how long do you have kind of thing?
Yeah.
Whoa. That's never good. When you get that reaction, you ask someone, give us an example of fraud, and they go, well, you're like, oh my God.
the pandemic, $1 trillion was stolen. 70% of that money went overseas. And I can give you some examples. In a Western state, they had more people applying for unemployment insurance benefits than they had individuals over 18. The people that were stealing.
Think about that. They had more people applying for benefits than actually lived in that state over the age of 18 years old. Come on, man.
the money from had individuals over 18. The people
That's
that were
crazy.
stealing the money from Romania were using it to facilitate other fraud schemes that include fentanyl, that include doing things to impact our democracy. On the insider threat, right, the first thing you have to say, and my dad was a public servant, is 99% of people that work in the public sector are honest, hardworking individuals.
I agree with that.
But there are some. And what you need is data and technology to root that out. There were examples during the pandemic. There were some examples even of last week where people got into the Medicaid system in a Western state and stole $50 million in less than 4 months. So you have to have these controls in place, right? These aren't individuals stealing, Mr. Cloud. These are organized criminal groups, both domestic and transnational.
That, as you mentioned, taxpayers are being forced to fund the demise of our own country. Mr. Winston, I wanted to ask you, because there's a lot of talk about reconciliation right now. You mentioned Medicaid and what could be done to bring a pretty substantial amount of savings, and this is without affecting those who truly need Medicaid and for what the purpose of the program was extended for.
Right.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Okay. Wow. Did she just cut his mic? Oh,
She needs serious. She needs business.
she's not playing, is she?
Uh-uh.
Wow. Okay. All right.
And he's
Does the witness want to answer the question?
No, only to
quickly.
say that, yes, there's a tremendous amount of savings that can be found from the streamlining rule, but also work requirements in the program is another big area that can be done in reconciliation. And that's could save a significant amount as well, $241 billion in federal spending over 10 years.
Yeah, she cut the mic. He's like you say, he's a Republican too. Yeah, okay. All right.
She's been very professional in this.
Yeah, look at MTG showing it. All right. I'll have to keep an eye on her. I haven't been, she's not, dude, I wish we had somebody like Martin, just somebody willing with a spine, I guess. Somebody who's willing to speak, to stand up and speak up. Because regardless of how you feel about the votes of Jim Banks and what's the other guy, our senator? Todd Young. Regardless of how you feel about their votes, I will say neither one of them are step up to the mic and blast the other side, or not even blast the other side. Tell it like it is. Yeah. Tell the truth. That's what we need. Both are very, very Republican establishment. Okay, we're gonna bounce. Oh no, I'm sorry. We're gonna go right into the next one, which is Representative Garcia.
And remember me saying that she was actually very professional doing this?
Yeah.
You'll see why in this clip.
Okay. All right. Very good. This is from 106.56. So right into it to 110.12. This clip went viral here. You said, okay. All right. So here we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. I now recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. Garcia.
Well, thank you. Thank you to all of our witnesses for being here. And I want to just start off by making something clear. I think we're all here to fight against the lies, the corruptions, and the attacks on our social safety net. Now, we should in no way be cooperating with House Republicans who want to shut down the Department of Education and destroy Medicare and Medicaid. And we should not stand by as the richest man on the planet gives himself and his companies huge tax cuts while the American people get absolutely nothing.
You probably knew that was
Now,
coming.
I find it ironic, of course, that our chairwoman, Congresswoman Green, is in charge of running this committee. Now, in the last Congress, Chairwoman Green literally showed a dick pic in our oversight congressional hearing. So I thought I'd bring one as well. Now, this, of course, we know is President Elon Musk. He's also the world's richest man.
Really, dude.
He was the biggest political donor in the last election. He has billions of dollars in conflicts of interest. And we know that he is leading a power grab, also abided by and encouraged by Donald Trump and, of course, the chairwoman, Congresswoman Green. But I also want to run through what DOGE actually is going to do. It's a demolition plan that's going to run through our government.
Okay.
DOGE is trying to abolish the Department of Education. That means opportunities denied to kids. It means you're ripping away opportunities for children with disabilities who are dependent on this money.
I'm going to pause briefly because I just ask anybody who's against getting rid of the Department of Education to point to the data that shows the Department of Education has improved anything.
And they have.
In our school systems. They have not. Our scores have continued to either go down or plateau. They have certainly not gotten any better in the 60 years or so that the DOE has been around. I think it was 1970.
It was
whatever
Carter that created it. I think it was 1980.
Yeah, something like that. So around that area, and we've seen nothing but either plateau or decline. So
And we're just
to hell
blowing
with
money
the DOE.
down a hole.
Yeah, it's
We
flushing
spend
money.
the most money out of anybody, I think, in the world on education.
Yeah, and we're so pathetically low with our scores. It's embarrassing.
You're also halting medical research, which is also critical, which we have to also stop. The idea that we're going to eliminate or destroy the Department of National Institutes of Health, NIH, is crazy. Let's talk about the Department of Labor. We're talking about protections for working people across this country, where people can actually complain about abuses their companies are making against them and their coworkers. Workers are now going to be in danger. Let's also talk about the Consumer Financial
Talk about
Protection
fear
Bureau.
mongering, dude.
Another huge issue for us. Think about the scammers and fraudsters that will be empowered across this country, because Elon Musk wants, essentially, these companies have more power over consumers and over people across this country. Look at the Centers for Disease and Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. That is actually what's being discussed partly today. Healthcare, we're talking about being denied to millions of poor people, working class people across this country. And now, of course, they're on to their largest target, the U.S. Social Security Administration. We're talking about the destruction of the actual social safety net in this country. We know that 1 in 5 Americans collect Social Security, seniors, disabled people. This entire plan is about hurting the American social safety net and destroying our institutions. And it's important that we actually call out what is happening at this subcommittee. This is not about working with the richest man on the planet. This is actually about empowering. This committee wants to empower the richest person in the world to hurt people so they can take all of this money that they so-called want to save and then give it to themselves, their companies, and their billionaire friends.
Right. Okay. Bruh. Come on. Talk about
That's their
fear
argument.
mongering. Yeah. Their argument is you should let us commit fraud, because if you don't, you're not going to get your Social Security. You should not question any of the money that's been spent anywhere, because they're not actually saving you money. This is what they claim. The Republicans are not actually saving your money. They don't want to save you any money. They don't want to get out the fraud. They just want to destroy all these institutions. They want to stop every single payment to every single crippled person out there, to every retiree. They just want to cut you off. So you should let us keep sending money to Ukraine, to Ghana, to what? Well, where'd they do the trans comic book at? Like Rio de Janeiro or something?
Peru, I think.
Peru, yeah. We should be able to do that, because the alternative is grandma doesn't get her check.
I want them to, they keep doing this. I don't think this is a winning argument.
They tried this shit with before the Trump election, and you see how it worked out for them. The American people are not buying into this crap.
No.
At all. At all. We're going to go to 11241, and this is Representative Timmons.
Yep.
Did she should I play more of this, or?
It's up to you.
No, I was just wondering if there was something, because you said this little part right here went viral where yeah. You know, that's why they do that crap. They do that for sound bites, dude.
And Marjorie Taylor Greene was attacked there, and she didn't do anything back.
Yeah, good for her. She didn't stop him. She didn't say anything. I got to give it to her. Yeah, she was very, very professional. And it's got to be hard, man. It has to be hard to sit there and listen to people spread absolute ridiculous lies about you. Good for her. All right. So Representative Timmons, where is he from? Do you know?
I don't remember.
Okay, that's all right.
Facing this country, our debt.
Here we go.
Now to the task at hand.
We're going to 115.58.
Mr. Talcove, if we implement enhanced identity verification and enhanced income verification, what will happen? How much money will we save?
You'll save hundreds of billions of dollars. Identity verification, elimination of self-certification, and monitoring beneficiaries will prevent these transnational criminal groups from accessing those systems at scale so legitimate people who need the benefits can get them in a timely fashion.
So we're going to get actual benefits to people, to American citizens that are in need faster, because if you do it electronically through web-based, like they did in Missouri, where the pilot program saved almost 20% of Medicaid dollars.
Ooh,
so all we
damn.
have to do is adopt what has already been proven in Missouri, and we'll save 20%. To the people out there listening, we spend almost $900 billion every year on Medicaid.
Holy
And
God.
if 20% of that is saved, that's almost $200 billion.
Yeah.
We got a $1.8 trillion annual deficit. We just knocked off $200 billion.
Yeah.
Let's keep this train going.
Thank you.
The fact that the Democrats are filing lawsuit after lawsuit to impede the efforts of President Trump to right our fiscal ship is unforgivable. It's unforgivable. Mr. Talkov, you talked about pandemic fraud. I have a bill that would cause the IRS to share data with the Small Business Administration and the FBI and the Department of Justice that would show that you were ineligible for PPP loans and you got them. So I think that would save probably $100 billion. Do you think that we should go back and take money away from people that fraudulently got COVID money?
During the pandemic, the PPP program was a virtual buffet for fraudsters. And it was because of that 1970.
And I'm gonna break in really briefly because I'm gonna tell you some of the most satisfying shit I have seen recently has been these PPP scammers getting arrested. I'm just saying, it's made me giggle. These people that have gotten millions of dollars from the federal government, from your tax money, and go out and buy a big nice house or a Lamborghini or this while you're living paycheck to paycheck. I want them prosecuted. I absolutely want them prosecuted.
74 Privacy Act, where data sharing and matching is virtually impossible. Congress needs to change that.
Yes.
But we can do it retro.
Yeah, it's crazy because they can't share information between agencies when it is necessary to, say, for example, prevent fraud and waste in the Medicaid system, Medicaid system, right? But they can absolutely share information when it comes to preventing you from exercising your Second Amendment right.
True.
Just saying. I'm just saying.
Retroactively. We can do it retroactively. We can find the people that stole this money, hold them accountable, probably get some of the money back. So I already have that bill filed. That bill.
And I don't even look. Yeah, it'd be great to get the money back. It really would. I'd love to get some of that money back. Even if not, it'd still be okay because we could still prosecute. Send a message moving forward. I'm all for that.
I think would probably get $100 billion. So now we got enhanced identity verification, enhanced income verification that has been proven in Missouri. It does work. So I'm working on that bill. We're going to drop it soon. That's $200 billion. There's a competition in Congress. I think we should have a competition on this committee. I got $300 billion in savings proposed. We got to all pull our weight because we have such a massive problem right now.
Yeah.
But I would just ask my colleagues across the aisle to get out of the way if you don't want to help.
Yeah.
If you don't want to help right the fiscal ship in this country, get out of the way. Stop filing lawsuit after lawsuit. We do not have the financial ability to continue down this path. And we're going to save this country with or without you. You can kick and scream all the way, or you can get out of the way. I prefer the former. Thank you, man.
Yeah, I mean, get out of the way, man. That's he said I prefer the former, but I think he meant I prefer the latter, where you just get out of the way. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, man. Some of the kicking and screaming is entertaining. It is. Some of the ridiculous statements they claim, like somehow preventing fraud, waste, and abuse is going to lead everyone to die in the gutter. That's a bit silly. That's a bit silly. We're going to go right into the next one, which is Representative Casar. Casar? C-A-S-A-R.
Casar, I think.
Casar from, do you know offhand? No?
I don't.
You're usually on it, man. What the hell, Sean? I'm just kidding. You're fine, dude. You're good.
Madam Chair.
And it's going to go to 119.24.
He's from Texas.
The gentleman
Texas.
yields. I now recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Casar.
Casar. There we go.
This subcommittee is supposedly about looking into waste, fraud, and abuse. So I'd like to start talking about independent inspector generals who are supposed.
This guy's a Democrat, isn't he?
He is.
He
You
reminds
can tell
me of,
right away.
He reminds me of Justin Trudeau.
A little bit.
Yeah, like I wonder if he is Fidel Castro's like maybe grandson, because you guys know that the rumors, the tinfoil hat stuff out there about Justin Trudeau being, he does look like him. Whether that's actually a thing, I don't know, but he does. You put side by side when Castro was young. Next, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. What are the odds?
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, and no, I'm not even gonna say it.
Supposed to be looking into waste, fraud, and abuse. Mr. Talcove, do you know how many inspector generals at agencies that were investigating Elon Musk's companies have been fired by the Trump-Musk administration?
No.
It is 5. Ms. Royal, the inspector general at the Department of Labor had 17 open investigations into Tesla and SpaceX. Do you know what the Trump-Musk administration did to that inspector general?
No.
They fired him. And I think y'all know. Mr. Whitson, the inspector general of the Department of Transportation was investigating Tesla. Do you know what the Trump-Musk administration did to that inspector general?
No.
They were fired. The Department of Defense's inspector general was looking into SpaceX. Mr. Hedler, do you know what the Trump-Musk administration did to that inspector general?
I believe he was fired.
Thank you. I think everybody on the panel knows what the answer to these questions were. The U.S. Department of Agriculture.
You know what, dude? If you want to waste your time asking people the answers to questions so you can tell them the answers to the questions, knock yourself out. But my question is, just because, number one, just because there's an investigation doesn't mean anybody did anything. How many times did they investigate Donald Trump?
True.
Russia was horse shit. If Elon Musk had done something, don't you think that the Biden administration would have had his ass? Come on. Like,
I want to be careful here because there is an opportunity where Musk could have, I'm not saying he's going to.
No, I got you.
But he needs to be watched because power does corrupt.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Here's the thing, right? And when we did the quick dip into the DOGE website the other night with my son, he said, Elon Musk is not your friend. Remember that. He's a billionaire. He doesn't know what your day-to-day life is like, and he doesn't know you're alive. So don't trust any of these people implicitly. Don't trust Elon Musk. Trust, but verify everything. If he is doing anything criminal, lock him up. Lock him up.
There's been no evidence of that.
That's it. There has been no evidence whatsoever. And you know, these Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, all these papers would run with it if there was anything. And there's not.
There's not.
Just stop it. Just stop it.
Inspector General was investigating Musk's Neuralink. Mr. Talcove, now I'll ask you again under oath, do you know what Mr. Trump did to that Inspector General that was looking into one of Musk's companies?
No.
He was fired. The Inspector General at the EPA was repeatedly taking on Tesla. Mr. Hedler, since it seems that you're answering the questions that everyone knows the answer to, do you know what the Trump-Musk administration did to that Inspector General?
I believe he was also fired.
Also fired. At least 5 Inspector Generals that were looking into Elon Musk's companies were fired by the Trump-Musk administration. These Inspector Generals who are independent, protected by law, they are the people that find the waste, fraud, and abuse and found many of the cases of waste, fraud, and abuse that have been brought up today, fired because they were looking into Elon Musk.
Right. Okay. I'm going to keep going here in a second. But again, you can make all the claims you want. And just because you assign someone to look into something doesn't mean anything's happening.
True.
And he can claim protected by law, this, that, and the other. They're all under the executive branch and are all subject to serve at the pleasure of the president. Everybody in the executive branch, in my opinion, should be cleared out from administration to administration. And then we wouldn't have half of these issues.
True. These are
the NLRB.
It's nuts.
The National Labor Relations Board, which is supposed to protect workers from getting their unions busted by folks like Elon Musk, made functionally broken by the so-called Department of Government Efficiency that really is the Department of Government Efficiency for Elon Musk, not for you. They are trying to shut down the Department of Education, the Department of Labor.
Good.
You know what Elon Musk doesn't seem to be looking into? His own contracts. Again, I'll ask you, Mr. Talcove, do you know how much money a day Mr. Musk will receive from the federal government for his contracts?
No.
The answer is $8 million a day. Just last year, Elon Musk was promised $3 billion from close to 100 contracts with the federal government. Ms. Royal, do you?
Did he say just last month?
I think that's what he said.
Or just last year? Hold on. Let's back it up.
100 contracts was promised $8 million a day. Just last year, Elon Musk was
last year. Who was the president last year?
Yeah, that's a good question. Biden was still president.
Yeah, I don't remember Trump approving.
That's true.
A bunch of contracts for. As a matter of fact, there was a certain reporter, allegedly, that made the claim that Elon, or I actually wasn't. I think it was like that terrible show, The View. I think they said that Elon Musk had gotten, or maybe it was Rachel Maddow or something. I don't know. Anyway, that Elon Musk had this massive contract from the federal government for Cybertrucks, armored vehicles, and tried to say it was Trump, and had to get on air live and make the correction that it was actually the Biden administration.
Was that Joy Reid?
It might have been Joy Reid. Yeah. I know it was one of those psychotic liberal women. That's all I know. And unfortunately, they all kind of blend together. But yeah, so it's funny that he wants to talk about these contracts that were given well before Trump was president.
Uh-huh.
Did you find it?
I did not, but something else interesting popped up. On my phone.
Go ahead.
Trump announces commentator Dan Bongino is going to be the new FBI deputy director.
He's putting Dan Bongino as deputy director of the FBI, guys. Holy hell. That is interesting. That is incredibly interesting. We will definitely have to see how that goes out because Bongino is former Secret Service.
Uh-huh.
He was actually on Clinton's Secret Service details. Look it up. I'm pretty sure it was Clinton. But he has spoken out many times about the unconstitutionality going on at the FBI. But I'm pretty sure he served in the Secret Service during the Clinton administration and was very close to Bill Clinton. There is some stuff that he said he saw that was really, really bad, but he can't talk about it, unfortunately, because obviously the Secret Service have to be secret. Go ahead.
For George W. Bush administration and the Barack Obama.
Okay, so maybe it was Obama. I thought he said Clinton, but maybe not.
He was a police officer for New York City during that time.
During the Clinton administration. Okay, so he was a cop. He was in the Secret Service. Now, apparently, he's going to be the deputy director of the FBI.
Interesting.
Very interesting. So we have two non-FBI people who are now directly in charge of the FBI.
Are you ready for a meltdown? Progressives are going to melt.
Oh, they're gonna lose their minds, dude. They are going to lose their minds. What I'm waiting to see. You want to take any bets on? Hold on. Yeah, we're going to talk about this just really briefly. Do you want to take any bets on who's going to be the new deputy director of the ATF? Because I'm hearing, like you sent it to me, we're hearing that Kash Patel is going to be the new acting head of the ATF. Who do you? I've heard some interesting theories here. First, I got to say this. Okay, we don't know for sure yet because the president has not said, "Yeah, I'm doing that." But trusted sources all over are saying that's the plan. Okay. If that's the case, what would he be able to do? He'd be able to name a deputy director and skirt the confirmation hearing because he was confirmed. Kash Patel was in front of a hearing. How does that work? Can you kind of sidestep?
No, I think he'd still have to have a hearing, a confirmation hearing.
You think so?
I think so.
But if you, here's the thing.
But if you're acting,
that's what I was going to say. As an acting head,
no.
yeah. So, and they could postpone hearings for a long time.
So yeah, we'll see.
So we'll see. But who's your pick? Who would you like to see? Let's start with that. Who would be your favorite pick for basically acting head of the ATF? Well, I will say one thing. So if they're planning on putting Kash Patel as head of the FBI, which he is, right, and acting director of the ATF, that would mean maybe the role of the ATF is not going to be nearly as big anymore.
That's
because how else are you going to be able to do the job of 2 full-time directors?
True. That might be what they're thinking.
And that could be, but who's your pick? Head of the ATF, doesn't matter. Forget the hearings. Number 1 pick for head of the ATF.
It would be.
Would you have to think about it a while?
Yeah,
Brandon Herrera.
Now, remind me who that is.
He's a gun tuber who ran for Congress, and he's as pro 2A as they come.
Okay.
Look up Brandon Herrera.
I'm not sure who that is.
Yeah, he's well known on YouTube and whatnot. Very, very pro 2A. He believes that every American should have a machine gun.
Okay.
And I like him. But all right, enough of that. I sidetracked long enough. But I do think it's going to be very, very interesting to see how that plays out. All right, we're at 118.51. We're going to 119.24. We got to listen to this guy wax poetic for about another 30, 40 seconds.
Promised $3 billion from close to 100 contracts with the federal government.
By the previous administration.
Ms. Royal, do you know how much the average person in this country who survives on Social Security, one of our seniors who's worked their entire life, about how much they have to survive on a day?
I do not.
$65 a day. We're not looking into Elon Musk's $8 million a day. This subcommittee.
Why should we?
Yeah.
Realistic question. Why should we? That's not what DOGE is for.
No.
And we're not auditing Elon Musk's bank account. We're auditing the bank account for the federal government because Elon Musk didn't spend my tax money. The federal government did through him. And I'm okay with canceling some of those contracts too. Absolutely. I can't think of a reason we need Teslas. SpaceX, that's a different story. And yeah, maybe that needs to be looked at. But I'll tell you what, he's gone farther than NASA did.
That is true. Yeah.
Like he did a ton of stuff that NASA wasn't doing. They were wasting billions and billions and billions of dollars destroying rockets, right? Not bringing them back. Elon is reusing them, saving money, but by all means.
Marjorie Taylor Greene and the House Republicans is looking into your grandmother's $65 a day.
Yes. Now add that up millions of times. Hundreds of millions of times, because that's what we're looking at. Little payments going out to people who shouldn't be getting them. Now, if you get 50 of those, it adds up. It all adds up. All right. So we're going to move on to where are we at here?
We have 3 more.
Yeah, we got 3 more. 121.29. A little further. This guy goes on for a while. Okay. And this is Representative Burchett
from Tennessee.
121.29 to 124.53.
Minutes.
Thank you, Chair Lady.
You hear that accent?
The gravy train, for a lot of these folks, it's been on biscuit wheels and it's about to run off the dadgum tracks.
Yeah.
It's about time.
Yeah.
Could you imagine standing up here and defending waste, fraud, and abuse?
Exactly.
But I think
That's
what
why
we're
I've been
seeing.
doing the
When people
Democrats to
squeal
show it.
and don't ask questions,
Yep.
I think it shows the American public what the heck's going on.
Yep.
And that little gravy train is
Right.
getting ready to run out.
I love it.
The spigot is getting ready to be turned off. Mr. Talcove, that's correct how you say your name, brother?
Yes, sir.
All right. How can the federal government improve identity verification for these entitlement programs?
Yeah, it's doing what the private sector does every single day.
Yeah.
Whether you use your bank, you go to Amazon, using those tools and moving away from some of the dated compliance standards that the federal government uses. NIST IAL 863, 2017, before there was anything called deepfakes and generative AI tools.
Also, I was
okay. I have no idea what he just talked about. Do you have any idea what, like, I'm thinking? And,
I know what a deep fake is.
Right. I know what he's saying. What is he talking about in 2017 and all these numbers? Let's go back and see if we can understand what he's talking about.
Standards that the federal government uses.
Okay. Yeah. So update standards. I got that. Right.
NIST IAL 863, 2000.
Yeah. I don't
What?
know.
INIL. Hold on. One more time.
Standards that the federal government uses. NIST IAL 863.
NIST IAL 863.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and look that up. And if you find something, I'll throw it on the screen.
What was it? IAL?
NIST.
Standards that the federal government uses. NIST IAL 863.
NIST IAL 863. What is he from 2017?
Oh.
Did you find it?
You want me to send it to you?
Yeah. Send it to me real quick because I had no idea what this guy was talking about, but it seems
something.
It is something. Okay, let's
What I'll do.
That's the wrong one.
Just put this in the Google.
If you can send it to me on you send it on Messenger? Hang on.
Yeah.
No, I know that. Don't you? Do you have a link or something, or just put that in
okay.
Google?
I would just put that in.
Okay,
Google.
hold on. Let's go to. Okay, it's NIST IAL 800-63, not 863.
No,
like I thought. So let's see. Does this show up?
Yep, that's what I got.
Okay, so if I put it into NIST IAL 863, refers to the identity assurance level, IAL, defined within the NIST Special Publication 800-63, which outlines technical guidelines for federal agencies implementing digital identity. Okay, all right. So basically, he's talking about what the federal government uses to verify your identity. And this is what it's called. NIST IAL. IAL is identity assurance level within the NIST, whatever NIST is, National Institute of Standards and Technology.
Okay.
Right here. Okay. So NIST, identity assurance level 800-63, which determines the level of confidence required when verifying someone's identity online. Okay. So
that makes sense now.
Now it makes sense. Okay.
I've never heard that before.
I had neither. I didn't know what the heck he was talking about. It was just a bunch of numbers and letters. I'm like, am I having a stroke?
2017, before there was anything called deepfakes and generative AI tools.
Okay, so he's saying these the outlines were made well before we had AI like we have, before we have these deepfakes out there. It is super easy to fake out these systems and make them think you're a real person. So we need more robust standards. Okay.
I was informed that PayPal has never been, they've never been able to crack into that and steal people's vital information. Are they using those systems that you would be favorable towards that government seems to be shying away from?
Yes, sir.
And describe that, how that works.
They're systems that are based on encryption. They use technology and they use data to validate you are who you say you are. The people that are stealing right now, I believe a lot of them are actually ghosts from China, Russia, Nigeria, and Romania.
Not literal ghosts.
I know, but you messed it up, man. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I was going to go for some kind of comedic relief, but
I ruined it.
No, that was actually perfect because come on, like that's we have solved the problem of where the money's going. It's going to ghosts. It's going to Casper and his crew. It's all right.
Read a report today that North Korea was involved in this, in some of that as well. And those people are our enemies. Again, they'll hate us for free. We don't have to give them taxpayer money.
Right?
And are there loopholes that can be closed to avoid these improper payments? And I wish you'd describe those to me.
Right. The biggest, most important thing, particularly in the benefit program space, is the use of self-certification. As Mr. Timmons noted, the state of Missouri is using a solution called Steady IQ to validate wages and wealth. You cannot allow individuals to provide the information based upon what they think. It has to be based on what you know, and that will stop the ghosts from using people's identities to steal money from U.S. taxpayers.
How much money do you calculate is wasted due to waste, fraud, and abuse in the entitlement programs each year?
Yeah, my number right now between federal, state, and local government is you can save $1 trillion a year by simply putting in front-end identity verification.
$1 trillion a year. Not one of those, because you always hear these big ass numbers and they say over 10 years or over 20 years.
Yeah.
No, this is $1 trillion a year you'll save by simply verifying people aren't bad actors from China. We're not talking about, keeping grandma from getting her check. We're talking about preventing fraud from people who shouldn't even be getting money from the first place.
And eliminating self-certification and monitoring the back end of the programs that are providing the benefits. Those three things.
You said you could eliminate that, but are there others you feel like some more low-hanging fruit?
I would start with those three things because they're simple. That'll take that 20% fraud rate that you're seeing in the public sector down below 5%.
Chair Lady, I would suggest that we adopt Mr. Timmons' legislation and get that out of the committee as fast as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah. It sounds like, where was it? Minnesota? That's working on Wisconsin?
Missouri.
Missouri.
Are you talking about the new system?
M's and W's, man. Yeah, the new legislation that they're talking about, that the verification.
Yeah, that Missouri has a new system.
Yeah, it sounds like it's working really well there. Here's the question, though. Realistically, is it preventing anyone who should be getting benefits from getting them? I'd like to know that information before we have it on a national level. But if it's not having that effect, by all means, because we got to do something. We have to do something. Our next clip is 126.41. 126.
And this is Crockett from Texas. And
the
media is claiming that she's the future of the Democrat Party.
Okay. Oh, God. Jasmine Crockett?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Okay. I hope she's not the future because
I'm just telling you, but that's what they're saying.
I appreciate the heads up. So that's like warning somebody they're going to get chlamydia before the week's out. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she's a trip, dude. She makes some. I think it's only a matter of time before she's in cuffs. I do. That's just my belief.
All right.
I don't have any actual evidence on that, but I think because those who scream the loudest. I'm just saying. Those who scream the loudest have the most to hide.
I think she's crazier than AOC.
She's definitely nuts. She is absolutely bonkers. Yeah. That's all, folks. Yeah, that kind of, yeah. Anyway, okay, so we got like 5 minutes of her. Yay! Okay, here we go. Oh boy, you know what this is going to be. Elon Musk and Trump are bad, and they're going to take Grandma's Social Security.
I now recognize the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Crockett, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. Talcove, I'm just going to go ahead and pick up where you left off really quickly. Just to be clear, the upgrades that you're talking about as it relates to our data processes, these aren't things that would be free, are they? They would cost some kind of money. Yeah. Not looking for a number, but they will cost, correct?
Some are free and some would cost money.
Okay. All right. So I just want to leave it there because we've had a number of these hearings. So I do want to be clear, before the Trump administration came in, this committee did exist in the form of the Oversight Committee, and our task is to root out waste, fraud, and abuse.
So I would say you failed at your job.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, realistically, because unless here's the problem. This is it. I haven't heard a single Democrat go, no, this is not true.
No.
I haven't heard them say, okay, you're looking at it wrong, right? This is not money collected by bad actors, right? It's money that was earmarked for this. It just hasn't been used yet. I don't hear that. I hear they want to stop. They want to shut down Social Security. I hear Elon Musk is bad.
Evil.
Yeah, Elon Musk is evil, but I don't hear any, no, you're doing it wrong. And when you do it wrong, it's going to look like this, but it's not. There's none of that. None of that.
Attack the messenger.
In that vein, we had a number of hearings, at least last term. I can't speak for any other term as I'm only in my sophomore term. And we dealt with improper payments. And interestingly enough, our chairwoman, who is so passionate about this today, she missed every single one of those improper payment hearings. But just to be clear, I was there. So I don't want anyone to believe that Democrats just come to work and don't plan to do work. In fact, I'm trying to figure out exactly what it is that the Republicans believe our job is, because right now they have relinquished their constitutional duties over to an unelected bureaucrat, someone who no one went out to vote for. And absolutely, he is occupying the Oval Office, as we saw yesterday. And that is a first for me to see someone occupying the Oval Office who's never actually been elected to the Oval Office and actually answering more questions than the person that allegedly got elected. But for whatever reason, this is the first time we're having a DOGE subcommittee.
Allegedly got. So we still have Democrat election deniers.
Isn't that interesting?
That is very allegedly. Hold on.
She said it.
Allegedly got elected. But and actually answering more questions than the person that allegedly got elected.
Allegedly got elected.
Could you imagine if a Republican said that?
Remember how much time they spent on Cash Patel trying to get, or not Cash Patel, was it Cash? That they wanted to admit Biden won 2020. Yeah.
I think it was Cash.
Yeah, they did it for him for a bit, just hounding him. And because Cash is like, he was, what did he say? He was sworn in as president. Just like Trump.
Yeah.
It's like, good for you, dude.
But for whatever reason, this is the first time we're having a DOGE subcommittee hearing, and that guy's not here. Instead, we have y'all. So I do want to thank you for coming. But I will say this. It's also interesting to me that in the first few days of DOGE existing, we know that they are trying to get rid of the Department of Education, USAID, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They're laying off FAA workers. They are going after the FDA, the CDC, the HHS, the FBI agents, and they're talking about getting rid of FEMA. And they brought y'all in. And I am going to say that I actually was shocked that there was only one person that seemed like he was an overt Trumper as you laid out your opening remarks, because
Here we are.
Look, you guys can draw your own conclusions from this.
I anticipated that at least one of y'all would say, yes, what Elon is doing is exactly what we would prescribe. But instead, I will applaud you because you actually were focused. You talked about what the American people are looking for us to do. We've actually consistently on this side of the aisle promoted this idea of making investments into technology so that we can do things such as, say, look at the Department of Defense. The Department of Defense that takes up approximately 50% of our discretionary income, or our discretionary spending. Approximately 50% goes to Department of Defense. Department of Defense has not been able to pass an audit in the last 6 audits. And we're not talking about pennies. I understand that we want.
That's the fucking point. That's why DOGE exists, because you people have been allegedly doing this for 100+ years and it's not working.
No.
This is not working. Look at just the little time that DOGE has been around. Go to the website, doge.gov. Look at the dude. She's literally making the point for us.
She doesn't realize
everything to be perfect. And if we could get all waste, fraud, and abuse out, that would be fantastic. But let me talk about the big numbers. The big numbers are on that side. When we look at, say, our entire workforce, our federal workforce, as we're trying to somehow fire all of them, they don't even make up a total of 5% It's even less than that when we look at our budget. But let's talk about the.
Okay. They don't even make up 5%. She's talking about of the budget. Okay. So they're not looking to fire all federal workers, but if someone is collecting a paycheck and not doing work, why should we pay them?
It adds up.
It does. And 5%, even if it's 1%, 0.1%, 0.00001, and the federal government budget is huge.
It is.
We're talking trillions of dollars. 5% of $1 trillion is still a hell of a lot of money. These people, man.
Defense. That just happens to be the same side of the ledger that Mr. Musk gets the vast majority of his money from. In fact, at the same time that they were unlawfully, and we will stay in court, because on this side, we believe in law and order. We believe in...
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. On this side, we believe in law and order. This is this... You guys know, bruh, like, really? That's a hell of a statement to make.
I mean, a number of us are actually lawyers, but nevertheless, we understand the Constitution. We believe in that as well. And so there's things such as, impoundment, right? Because as Mr. Whitson said, he said, we need to return the power of the purse to Congress. It never left. According to the Constitution, that's where it's at. Now, I know that people are confused right now because for whatever reason, we had a guy that went in, and you talk about people invading our data. Listen, people said that they were upset about TikTok, but I'm upset about the guy that runs Twitter.
She had to look down. She looked down and still got it wrong. It runs, what's the name of his company again? Bruh, this is the future of the Democratic Party? Okay. All right.
For sure is doing nefarious things, because I don't understand, if you are trying to conduct audits and figure out where the waste, fraud, and abuse is, I don't know why you would go to some tech guy. In fact, it was only techies that were sitting there at inauguration. We didn't have auditors. I would welcome auditors to come in and do forensic audits. In fact, he sat there in the Oval Office yesterday and he admitted that he was lying, and he was using his propaganda machine to do it when he said that we sent millions of dollars to Gaza for condoms. That was a lie. So let me tell you something.
The gentlelady's time has expired.
It's time for
the
us
gentlelady's
to do our
time has
job
expired.
and rein in this rogue actor known
The gentlelady's time has expired. I now recognize the gentleman.
Bruh.
All right, the last speaker.
Okay, okay, so according to her, the condoms to Gaza thing was a lie. Okay, maybe that's the case. If that's the case, Elon even said, I'm not going to get it right all the time.
He did say that.
We're looking into this stuff by all means. But you know what? Go look it up. Check it out. And the crazy part is, of course, the Democrats are going to focus on, oh, he lied. He said there was this. Instead of going, okay, yeah, maybe he misspoke. Maybe this was wrong. But it doesn't explain the billions and billions and billions of other stuff where he's right.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Last little clip for you. 132.58.
I think the best clip of the whole hearing.
Oops, I went too far. All right. And this goes to 137.15. And this is Representative Burleson
from Missouri.
In 10 years. And then 15 years from now, the dollar is completely devalued and worth nothing. So what does that mean? That means your pension, the money in your bank, your savings is nothing. It's worthless. So what are we doing? We're trying to save this country. We're trying to save your pensions. We're trying to save your bank accounts. We're trying to save this country for the next generation. And it would be nice if we had help. But instead, we have people that are fighting us on this. And, I think that I would hate to be in the Democratic Party right now because you're in a really bad bind. You're having to defend all of this crazy spending, all of this crazy waste. So how do you do it? You do ad hominem attacks. You attack the messenger. Oh, Elon Musk, right? He's rich. He must be evil, right? That's the attacks. Really? You can't do any better than that, right? let's talk on the policy. On the policy, help us. We're trying to save this country.
Right.
This is what, and Elon Musk, who's making no money doing this, is trying to save this country. Why? Because he has invested in the United States of America more than anybody.
I would agree.
Right. So I think that we should embrace it. In fact, not a single company, governor of any state would ever turn down Elon Musk and his team of DOGE from coming in and provide free services to write the course and financially in any state or organization.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous that we would demonize someone that loves this country so much. Mr. Whitman, the formation of agencies via the executive action is not new, right? The formation of DOGE is not new.
No.
Can you are you familiar with any other previous presidencies where they've formed organizations like DOGE via executive action?
Yeah, so actually the agency that DOGE is occupying is one that was created in a previous administration. So it is something that happens routinely.
Right.
But I don't know if that answers your question.
DOGE is not new.
There's been the Office of Budget Management was created, the Environmental Protection Agency was created, the U.S. Digital Service, which is now DOGE, was created all by executive order.
Right. And actually one other I'd add is USAID was originally created through an executive order by President Kennedy and then later formalized.
And then, Madam Chair, I have a video I would like to end with that just let's review if we could cue that to remind, and I want to remind my Democratic friends at a point in which you once had the majority of the American people on your side. This is what your party believed in.
This report tells us how to cut waste, cut red tape, streamline the bureaucracy, change procurement rules, change the personnel rules, and create a government that works better and costs less.
I've read it, and where it says the president should, the president will.
Among the 800 recommendations, eliminating 12% of the federal workforce, merging some government agencies like the FBI, the DEA, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms.
Oh my God. So is Trump just enacting Clinton's policy? And now the Democrats are crying about.
For the most part, yes.
Dude, this is amazing. Like you gotta admit, what are the chances that this is reality? Like that there's no simulation involved here. I don't know, man. Some of this stuff is just a little too perfect coincidentally. Tony Kickercamp says, so let's deflect from the real problem. Exactly. Just, Elon Musk is bad because he's rich. So yeah. So they're crying about Clinton. Exactly. They're crying about the very thing, eliminating 12% of the federal workforce. Remember this congresswoman saying, it's only 5% of the budget. Doesn't matter.
No,
it doesn't matter. And we saw earlier Dan Bongino, deputy director of the FBI. That's going to be wild. You think the Democrats are losing their minds now? Tomorrow's going to be glorious. It's going to be oh my God, the meltdowns. I'm looking forward to reading. Look at this. But oh my God. You're going to see, it's going to be your feed. Oh my God, dude. It's like, I just see it in my mind. A liberal compilation of meltdowns. Anyway, merging agencies. So like you said, I wonder if we're going to see that now with the ATF and the FBI. I genuinely don't understand why we need an entirely separate agency for Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. That doesn't need to be its own agency. They're doing basically, in my mind, FBI type stuff.
Closing hundreds of government offices outside Washington.
From the day I took office, one of the commitments that I made to the American people was that we would do a better job here in Washington in rooting out wasteful spending. We thought that it was entirely appropriate for our governments and our agencies to try to root out waste, large and small, in a systematic way. It means cutting some programs that I think are worthy, but we may not be able to afford right now. A lot of the action is in Congress and legislative, but in the meantime, we don't need to wait for Congress in order to do something about wasteful spending that's out there. We haven't seen as much action out of Congress as we'd like. And that's why we launched on our own initiative, the campaign to cut waste. And we're going to keep on finding every possible way that we can do that, even if Congress is not acting. There you go.
Look at that. Even everybody's favorite. What did God, I'm trying to remember what Joe Biden said about Obama, that he was like the first mainstream
He did.
You know what I'm talking about, right? That he was the first mainstream, well-educated or articulated black man, basically. It's like,
he did.
Yeah.
He
so
said
there,
some racist.
oh
things
yeah,
in the
he said
past.
some racist ass stuff. So Tony Kickercomp says Dan takes no shit from no one. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so him as assistant director of the FBI is going to be nuts because, in my opinion, Dan Bongino is not going to allow the FBI to run roughshod over the American people.
No.
I don't think Kash Patel is going to allow it either.
It's going to be an interesting
So
day
it's,
tomorrow.
yeah, it's going to be an interesting month. Tony also said DOGE was actually created by Obama, but under another name. Yeah, the digital
What was it?
yeah,
He said
the
it in
digital
the hearing.
service or
Something digital service.
yeah, digital service division, whatever it was. Clinton, that's at the beginning of the clip. He was talking about how, you know, cutting the federal workforce, all of that stuff was the Digital Service Commission, whatever it is. So US Digital. Yeah, Clinton created that. And then Obama just expanded it. That was what this was supposed to do. But all DOGE is doing is taking over as an agency, and they changed the name for memes. I like it's meme worthy. Let's face it, it's Elon. He loves the memes, right? He loves the memes.
Yeah.
So we have Democrats crying and defending fraud, waste, and abuse. How do you defend fraud, waste, and abuse? You attack the messenger. You do ad hominem attacks. You do deflection type scenarios where, oh, well, Elon Musk got this contract from the US government. Elon Musk did this and Trump did that. And you're not saying that the fraud they found doesn't exist. You're not, except for, I'm sorry, Ghana and the condoms. Whatever.
And the thing that drives me wild,
Allegedly.
crazy
Let's find
is
out about that, by the way. Go ahead.
Elon Musk agrees with these people on most issues. He's not a conservative.
Exactly. That's the wild part. Okay, so let's see what it says. I don't know. They're talking about Ghana and faulty condoms. This is interesting. Hold on. Let's go back to. I'll show you guys because. So I Googled, well, I misspelled it, but I Googled condoms Ghana thinking it would pop up because you know how it is. But right here it says Ghana should repay $3.8 million to Global Fund faulty condoms procured in a tender that was riddled with fraud. So that's interesting because they say that he lied about that.
Wasn't it Palestine, the condoms?
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
It wasn't Ghana.
It wasn't Ghana? Okay. Let's see. Hold on.
It'll come up. I just Googled it.
What did you Google?
Hamas condoms.
Oh. I don't know why I said Ghana. Okay, so AP. And this is why, like, I think it's important to show both sides and to show like what we find out, because it says here, fact focus, no evidence that $50 million was designated by the U.S. to buy condoms for Hamas. During a signing ceremony Wednesday for the Lake and Raleigh Act, President Donald Trump claimed that his administration had, quote, identified and stopped $50 million being sent to Gaza to buy condoms for Hamas. The White House press secretary claimed the same thing. Okay, so claim. Yep. The facts. Trump and his spokesperson appeared to be referring to a grant or grants that USAID awarded to a group called the International Medical Corps, worth $102.2 million to provide medical and trauma services in Gaza. The State Department earlier Wednesday described this as an example of egregious funding not aligned with American interests or the president's policies. Okay. State Department spokesperson said prevented $102 million. Okay. Officials said the Trump administration stopped two $50 million buckets of aid for Gaza via International Medical Corps, which included family planning programming, including contraception, sexual health care, including prevention and management of STIs. I still call it STDs, man. And adolescent sexual and reproductive health. Okay. The $100 million for these programs included contraceptives, officials said, adding that condoms have traditionally always been used for family planning in developing countries by USAID.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not seeing the lie yet. According to the IMC, no U.S. government funding was used to procure or distribute condoms nor provide family planning services. So the thing that it says it does, they say that they didn't do.
Uh-huh.
I'm not seeing the lie yet. Do you?
No.
Okay, hold on. The IMC said in a press release that it has received over $68 million from USAID to support its operations in Gaza since October 7th. They said the resources were used to operate two large field hospitals currently located in central Gaza, one in Deir al-Balah and one in al-Zawaidi, offering a combined total capacity of more than 250 beds, including 20 in the emergency room and 170 in the surgical department. These facilities have provided around-the-clock medical care to about 33,000 civilians per month. Okay. The IMC said that since January 24, it has provided health care to more than 383,000 civilians who had no other access to services or treatment, including performing about 11,000 surgeries. According to statistics provided by the IMC, they also assisted in the delivery of some, okay, blah, blah, blah. They did all kinds of great stuff for people. Go away.
But they also did condoms for...
That's what I'm trying to... Okay, so Refugees International president refuted Trump claims. USAID procures condoms for around 5 cents a piece, he wrote. $50 million would be 1 billion condoms. What's going on here is not a billion condoms for Gaza. What's going on is that the bros at DOGE apparently can't read government spreadsheets. USAID's financial year 23 report on contraceptive and condom shipments, the most recent data available, notes that only one Middle Eastern country, Jordan, received a small shipment of injectables and oral contraceptives valued at $45,680 for government programs only. This was USAID's first shipment to the Middle East since financial year 2019. Okay, so hold on. Before we move on, so no, according to them, no, we didn't spend millions of dollars to ship condoms to Gaza. We did, however, spend $45,000 to ship condoms to Jordan.
Uh-huh.
Unless I'm reading this wrong.
You read it right.
USAID reports from the first 3 quarters of 24 show the only family planning programs funded by the Middle East, by the agency in the Middle East, were in Jordan and Yemen. So we're funding them there, but not Gaza.
Why are we funding it anywhere? Why are
okay, so hold on. Wait. Okay, that's it.
Yep.
That's the entirety of the report, guys. So their evidence to refute Trump is these people said, nuh-uh.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, really, that's the entirety of their evidence is this guy wrote something on X that said he was lying, that said Trump lied. Are you freaking kidding me?
I guess that's journalism today.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's see what this guy... I'm going to look at the actual clip and see if he provides any actual receipts.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Wait. We might have something here.
Yeah, I think you do.
Okay, so this is his account. I can't read all that. It's at Jeremy, I don't know, Konendijk, president of Refugees International, former lead for COVID. Anyway, okay. So data is publicly available. A short conversation with staff at USAID would have made it pretty obvious. All right, so let's take a look at what the data he's talking about. All right, so worldwide contraceptive and FPRH condoms delivered value by method. Okay, so here is literally commodity male condoms. Fiscal year 2023, we sent out 7.1 million condoms
worldwide. Wow.
Why the fuck is the United States sending condoms anywhere? Why are we paying for condoms in other countries at all? So this guy's excuse is, no, I didn't go to Ghana, but we did send 7 million elsewhere. Gaza. I keep saying Ghana. That's what it is. I keep saying Ghana. So, bruh. Okay. So, wait a minute. Worldwide contraceptive and FPRH condom quantities delivered by method, fiscal year 23, 137,790,000 male condoms. So wait a minute. We're looking, okay, so this is $7.1 million in condoms. This is so it's 137 million condoms, not 7 million. I'm sorry. Yeah, I see. It's hard to read this crap.
That's a lot of condoms.
And it went up 163% from 2022 to 2023. Yeah. Yeah. So what? No, that's not right. Instead, what? Contraceptive. Oh, okay. Final point on this. Notwithstanding the absurdity of this particular claim, right? It's absurd. It's absurd, guys, to claim that we're sending condoms across the world.
But we are.
It's insane to claim that, right? And $7 million of your money was spent to send condoms, not other all-inclusive stuff, just condoms across the world.
Wow.
But Trump's a liar.
That's a lot of
this
condoms.
Guy, dude.
That's a lot.
Like, man, when I was a teenager, I would burn through some rubber, man. I mean, just whoop, but like 137 million condoms is a lot. That's bro level right there. That's Chad. That's Giga Chad, right? 137 million condoms? Bruh. This guy says, notwithstanding the absurdity of this particular claim, contraceptive access is an important health issue in crisis settings like Gaza. Unplanned pregnancies in a context of starvation and displacement can be hugely challenging and carry health risks. Okay. I don't disagree with that statement. It's probably a very important health issue in Gaza when you're dealing with, like he said, starvation and displacement, and now you're pregnant too. Holy crap.
And also they did this probably with the AIDS program that George W. Bush implemented.
Right.
Is probably part of this too. But
it could be.
It comes to the point of, why are we paying for everything?
That's exactly right. So he said the very next week. So it would be entirely appropriate for USAIDs to support contraceptive access in Gaza, albeit at a scale several orders of magnitude smaller than 1 billion condoms.
Why doesn't the rest of the world step up?
Why
is it always the U.S. taxpayer?
Exactly. Why are we paying for condoms in Gaza? We don't pay for condoms in Los Angeles.
No.
Like, not that that would be okay, because why are we paying for anyone's extracurricular activities? Like Tony said, why do we have to pay for someone else's extracurricular activities? And I get the whole family planning thing. And sometimes if you prevent a pregnancy, it's cheaper. And
it's also to prevent AIDS from spreading.
Yeah.
But
I
my
get that.
point is that we shouldn't be the only ones paying for this. Like the rest of the world, like we could chip in and help. But I mean, I'm getting tired of us putting all the money in.
Yeah, well, that's what it comes down to is, look, I am all for extending the hand of assistance to those who need it, right? But charity begins at home. When we have veterans who are dying in the streets, who cannot get medical care, who cannot get the services that they need, when we have mental health crises, when we have a drug epidemic through our communities, when we have people going bankrupt because they can't afford health care, we need to focus on the United States first.
America first.
America first. Get this stuff tightened up, buttoned up, and then maybe, just maybe, we can talk about helping poor people around the world. Let's focus on the poor people here.
True.
It's just that simple. It's just that simple for me is focus on us first, then worry about the rest of the world. We can revisit the conversation. I'm not opposed in theory to helping those in need. I'm not opposed. Like I said, during this program, my wife works in an industry that relies on helping those in need. But we can't do so at the expense of the American people.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. Just like we wouldn't vote, at least I wouldn't vote, to make everybody's tax 75% so we can pay for all the damn services that the people want to put. By the people, I mean the entitlement people, right? The ones who just want to give money away and don't care where it comes from.
Senator Sanders.
Right. Yeah, the commies. The commies. You know what I'm saying? All right, guys. And Tony here says helping vets is not charity, it's payback. That's exactly right. They put their lives on the line for this country. Dude, I think the way we treat our veterans is one of the most egregious things I've ever seen in my life.
Agreed.
Absolutely rage inducing. And that's where we need to start. When our veterans are not dying in the street, then maybe we can talk about helping people in Gaza or Turkey
or Africa
or chicken or whatever. It doesn't matter. Wherever they are, let's talk about it later. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you found this informative. I certainly found it educational. There are some things I didn't know during this. And I'll leave you with this. I still have yet to see any evidence that we aren't buying condoms from around the world.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, all I saw was evidence we are.
We are.
So maybe they're not going to Gaza, but they certainly are going somewhere. And I think everything, just like always, I think everything Trump does is for a reason. We'll see, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your time. We'll see you again real soon. Without further ado, God bless you. God bless Indiana. And God bless the United States. Hope you have a great evening.
If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose. This has been Dion's Daily Dose, hosted by Dion Bergeron. Executive producers, Sean Holgram and Michael Beebe. Copyright 2024. Dion's Daily Dose, all rights reserved.